I think Alain Robert free soloed harder grades than I ever have.
He's free soloed some of the tallest skyscrapers in the world. He's been arrested over 100 times. He's free soloed some of the hardest rock routes in the world. He's had accidents so bad he's been declared 65% disabled and told he'd never climb again. This is the story of Alain Robert. Alain Robert was born a climber. Well, at least he started climbing at 8, which in the grand scheme of things isn't too far off. But his first few years of climbing, he stuck to the normal stuff, just rock. He does talk about in his movie and book of being locked out of his home in his teens and having to scale 8 floors to an open window, and how he felt like Robin Hood. Which I think for anyone else would be a bit mad, but for Alain it was a small event in his life compared to what he had yet to do. And so years before his fame, arrests and soloing buildings like these, he was actually a serious good rock climber. And I don't mean like local gym wad good, I mean like good. Like one of the best free soloers of his time, and regarded by Honnold himself as one of the first people to push free soloing.
Well, I think Alain Robert was one of the first people to really free solo very difficult routes. I mean, really, I think that what he's done on rock is much closer to the cutting edge. The most relevant part of the grades that Alain was soloing in the 80s is just how close to the limit of human potential they were at the time.
Alain was free soloing 513D when 514 was the hardest sport grade being climbed. Nobody is doing that now. To be pushing free soloing right to the line of what at the time was considered possible. So what I'm trying to get across is that Alain wasn't just some lad who had dabbled in rock before spending a career on buildings. He has had a fucking amazing rock climbing career. When you go back onto Alain's building crack, or more like anti-crack, because it looks like a crack, but climbing on it was a completely different story to what you'd find on rock. First of all, it's made of metal. One thing about metal is there's not a lot of friction to be had, something climbing heavily relies on. And the crack wasn't solid on either side, instead it had an opening on the inside. This meant that, although it was just above finger size, so maybe he could have snuck a ring lock jam in, I'm pretty sure locking on such thin metal frames would result in Tommy Caldwell looking hand. So the building was never going to be easy to climb, never mind free solo. The technique of climbing this building involved wrapping his fingers inside, holding the inside of the crack, which looked like a finger jug, and jamming his toes into the crack below. A jam I'm pretty sure is fucking sore for Alain. And so the fact he was able to go and do that for half a kilometre on the Sears Tower is a bit mad, to put it lightly. I mean, I struggle to have long sessions on the fake indoor cracks built for comfort, never mind what he had to do. Especially when you consider there's no real resting on this type of climbing. The nature of the holds, along with the fact it's metal and there's no friction, means I'm pretty sure you have to keep pretty high tension at all times to stop you taking quite a long slide to the bottom.
It lacks its mainstream catch. Such as when he climbed the world's highest building, the Burj Khalifa. Even though Alain has said on Instagram he doesn't actually properly count this climb due to the fact he did use a rope throughout the climb, it still appealed to the mainstream news more. Though I'm not trying to take away from this ascent at all. It's 830 metres of climbing that was so hard Alain didn't free solo it. So I think that's quite telling of how difficult it must have been.